I'm not going to say it's not admissible at some point. Should you choose, or should the door be opened by somebody else? I'm not saying that the statement might not have any relevance or probative value, but at this point, through this witness, at this, it would violate 24-8-801 D2A. All right. So unless there's anything else, folks, I'll see you in about 30 minutes, okay?
Thank you, Judge. So, Your Honor, Mr. Brown is going to go and look at what they have put together, Your Honor, on conferring further with counsel for the state, D.C. Carlson in particular, with respect to defendants 28, was it?
38.
38, thank you, Judge. The video itself, Your Honor, is inadmissible hearsay under 24-8-801A through C and 24-8-802 and Rule 613. Per 24-8-801, the exhibit does not have to be self-serving as it did under the old Georgia law, only self-quoting. That is what makes it hearsay under 24-8-801A through C. And it is therefore inadmissible under 24-8-802. To properly have the video admitted, the defendant bears the burden of providing to the court an exception or an exemption to the hearsay rule, and the defendant has not met that burden because there is no exemption or exception that applies. The video is not a prior consistent statement under Rule 613 because the defendant has not testified. Therefore, the statement is banned as bolstering before impeachment under Rule 613. Your Honor, with respect to the video itself, the state has left the jury with no misrepresentation or false portrayal about what the lyrics of the song are. And so the rule of completeness and doctrine of curative admissibility does not apply. The meaning of the lyrics is a jury issue that the defendant cannot prove by circumventing the hearsay rule with a self-quoting video. Even for the sake of argument, if the state has in some way misrepresented to the jury what the lyrics are, the state did not introduce a video. So a video is not admissible under either of these doctrines. The only thing then that would be even conceivably admissible would be the specific additional lyrics that provide a different context than the ones the state introduced from that particular song with this witness. Lastly, Your Honor, introducing the video is barred by Rule 403 in that it would confuse the issues for the jury. Because while we here now are focused on lyrics, suddenly the defendant would be introducing a video. That comes in, and that is confusing the issues as to what they really are. And so our position is that it is barred by Rule 403 under confusion of the issues, Your Honor. So when the court asked the state to look for lyrics that were different between the two versions, it is actually the defendant, if that is his grounds for having to admit the inadmissible hearsay video, the defendant bears the burden of presenting to the court what misrepresentation the state has made, and then he is limited to playing only the portion of the song that would then give proper context to whatever misrepresentation regarding the lyrics that currently exists as the state presented in that particular song. I would also point out that it was the defendant who asked and brought up on cross-examination. We're not even talking about open, but on cross-examination, the defendant specifically asked Mr. Stevens, does thug stand for truly humble under God? Your Honor, and
they are really arguing some particulars. Does thug really mean? I mean, they are really. I mean, this is wild. They are. You talk about semantics and petty defense and prosecution. The prosecution team want to paint thug as a, as a. When they say thug, you're talking about what's this thugger? What's this? I didn't got his damn name, Young Thug. So they want to the prosecutors want to paint him as like just as devilish as they can, and the defense team is trying to clean that up. So right now, I don't believe the jury is there. They're trying to argue what's admissible and inadmissible right now. So they're trying to get they're trying to get they're trying to iron out the particulars. Like, what does thug mean? Does thug mean some gangster stuff, or does it mean some clean image acronym, teddy bears, hugs, union, and gratitude? Or does it mean terrorists hitting ultimately gangsters, or terrorists, huge, ugly gangsters? Right? So that's what's going on here.
That is the only reason the state went back and said, if this is what his name stands for, and he sings about everything else, how many songs has he written that talk about being truly humble under God? So in the 8th edition of Carson on Evidence, Your Honor, page.
Oh, this nigga turned religious. So Young Thug is trying to act like, and it might be true though. Truly humble under God. That might be the actual acronym. Like, I wouldn't even doubt that. I wouldn't even doubt that what it means. That's what it means. The prosecution, they may know that and still want to act like it doesn't. You know, they're trying to win a case. But I wouldn't even doubt that wasn't the true acronym, because I know a lot of like fake smart gangsters. Like, you know, they be trying to like be gangsters but also be clever, like the polites. What polite stand for again? Pedo. Pedo. What it stand for? Pedo. Every damn chance I get, something like that. What that polite stands for, I forgot, but it's something like that. So like these thugs be having like humble acronyms to make up the name. So I wouldn't doubt if it actually meant truly humble under God.
Page 260.
But the prosecution saying, "Yeah, all right, no sir, that means the worst, not the best."
Page 80, page 51, and page 432, page 336, and page 438 all pertain to the inadmissibility of this type of evidence, and the video in particular. And this defendant simply is not permitted to make a circumvention of the rule excluding hearsay. He has not provided an exemption or an exception. And I think that I see the court has a version of Carlson, and if I've given the court information from an edition that the court—
I'm not as rich as you all are, so I don't have the most recent version, but I am familiar with Carlson on Evidence. So I'm good. I'm good on that. But
Thank you.
anything else? Okay. All right, Mr. Steele, anything, sir?
She's like, go ahead and show him. Like, I don't need that one.
In regards to, I guess it'd be Williams 38.
Black's law. It is funny how the more you talk about Black Law Dictionary, there ain't about up here saying, according to the Black's Law Dictionary, it says black means white and white means black. Like, they don't be referencing the Black Law Dictionary like that up in court.
For identification. I made my record.
According to the Black's Law Dictionary, King James Version, edition number 12, it says,
There are no differences in lyrics. Prosecution
introduced lyrics out of context on redirect under the rule of completeness and under truthfulness to this jury. I would like to do what you already ruled and play the song. And I don't even understand how we're at 24-6-613 prior consistent statement. That's not even close. I mean, we're talking about, you're saying, okay, it's snowing, and we're talking about, well, let's go, so since it's snowing, let's get our pails and shovels to dig up the sand. I mean, this is crazy, their argument. So I didn't bring this up.
Okay,
No intention of playing it.
Mr.
But Miss Love,
Mr. Steele, I do understand that. I really do. But
I just want to
it's,
play the song.
but you can't at this point in time.
Yes, I can. It was brought up with this.
Okay, but you know what? It's still inadmissible at this point. It's not admissible at this point. I would agree with the state under 801, 24-8-801 A through C, 802 and 613.
At some point, the confrontation clause has to speak in this courtroom. The state of Georgia asked and leveled lyrics words made by Mr. Williams. I want to put those words in proper.
Okay, but you won't be able to do it through him. It's objectionable.
Right person.
It's objectionable at this point in time. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not, like I told you before. It's not that it may not be objectionable at this point, but if evidence comes in for different reasons, Mr. Steele, at this point in time, it's just not coming in. I'm not saying that it won't come in at some point in time.
This court is handcuffing the Constitution. Then I move to strike everything said by Mr. Stevens in its entirety because I can't confront him. You have the awesome power to control these proceedings. But the state of Georgia, wide open that door. I didn't mention anything.
Okay, but that does not make the evidence any less inadmissible. It doesn't.
They took words out of context. And I want to put the words in its entirety the way they are. You should be able to let me see the road to do that, Your Honor.
I just can't let you do it right now, Mr. Steele. It's because the state's objected to it, and I agree with them under 801 A through C.
But they're wrong. Mr. Carlson has no clue what he's talking about. He's wrong. He wasn't here. And just to throw around a name because he wrote a book, this is not applicable, Your Honor. The state of Georgia said, this is what Mr. Williams said. I'm saying, actually, what he said was this, and I'm putting in the completion of the story. You know what this song is about? It's about coming from nothing. It's about telling your kids, not that you're riding around with a body, it's about telling kids, if you live under the circumstances that a gentleman like Mr. Williams did, you may have to kill somebody because they're going to kill you. It's self-defense. The state of Georgia wrapped all that up in little lyrics and misconstrued what they are. I have every right, I need to put this in. And it's not good enough to say later, Judge, this trial, I have no clue. I've never been in a case like this. This trial may go on till Super Bowl next year. I don't want to do it in 7 months. It is right now, and I should have the authority to do it, Your Honor. You know, I'm doing everything that I know to be upfront. I give everything I don't have to give. I give everybody a heads up, and it gets spun around. I get to play this song, the song I want to play, and I ask you not to keep doing this and listening. Once you rule, it's coming in, which one? The state was saying before lunch, I'm somehow changing the lyrics. The lyrics don't change, I tell you that. Now it's all of a sudden another reason. Your Honor, you have ruled. I use your ruling, I embrace them, and I am correct. There has to be a point that we have traction here too. It is a two-way street.
Well, remember, Mr. Steele, I can always, one of the things about being a trial judge is you can reverse your rulings. And also, here's the other thing as well. You all as a group, kind of release or give me snapshots at any given point in time. And I make a ruling on it. Then more comes out, and I sometimes at that point when I get a full picture of everything, because remember, this is part of what challenge I told you about earlier. When it unfolds this way, I don't get to make the best ruling I can at the first time. So unfortunately, I'm kind of hamstringed in terms of that, but I do have a mechanism of kind of reconsidering. I want to get it right just like anybody else does.
Your Honor, I learned about it today. Today, dropping jewels was mentioned on redirect. I brought it to the court's attention and the DA's attention even before that. Your Honor.
And that's why I'm not fussing at anybody about it. I'm not, Mr. Steele.
I get to put it into perspective.
Not now.
Oh, Judge, please take a
Not now.
break and reconsider, because this is important.
Everything's important, Mr. Steele. Everything.
Good. Then I need to put it in. You told me over and over again, there's a battle of the titans. You could cross it down. Well, I'm here.
Okay, you're doing your job.
I want to do this. Every time the state wants to put in something
Adrian
like that
Kennedy,
last
Kennedy.
video of Mr. Stevens, I strenuously object. You overrule it and you say you can deal with it on cross. Well, the state's the one who opened the door. I get to go into this. They just mentioned a song and lyrics from the song. They knew what they were doing today. They brought lyrics with them. It was mentioned before Mr. Stevens ever came. They didn't ask you, hey, I'm going to mention lyrics. They just do it. I get to respond. Your Honor, this is critical to me. They are trying to paint Mr. Williams as a person he is not. This is a good man. And I get to show the truth about that song. I didn't introduce the song. I gave it in discovery because I will introduce it later. But now it's right. And if you don't let me do it, jurors form opinions. I know you're instructed, but they form opinions. That's why we confront witnesses immediately. It is wrong to exclude it at this time. It was wrong to exclude respectfully lifestyle. They put in the rich gang shirts. I want to show what lifestyle is. You told me do it with another witness. Your Honor, this is the witness. I need to do this. This is the only
Mr.
way
Steele,
I can
the other
get that trial.
look, you have the right to present whatever it is that you feel you must on Mr. Williams' behalf, as each advocate does here. But there is a certain order. As you all know, that the evidence code requires certain pieces of evidence to be admitted. So subject, or unless they're by agreement, if there's an objection, then I have to rule on it.
Judge, this was the state's doing. They used part of a song. How is it just? You're a great man. How is it just that the state got to put in with their own inflection of voice on lyrics and say, is this what the song says? And Mr. Stevens saying, yes, it does. Next lyric, is this what the song says? Yes, it is. The next lyric, is this what the song says with the expression? I'm not going to say it, but the emphasis on the word F. U blank K. And then I sit here mute. That's just, they did this. And I get to put it in perspective.
Okay, but
I need to do it now. And it is right now because it's a rule of completeness. The witness knows the song. He knew it from his memory. Miss Love was saying, you know the song, and here's the song. Here are the lyrics. I want to put in the actual song. The way I want to put in the video, and then we're done. But Judge, to exclude it, it makes it look like I'm conceding it, and I'm not. And I would not. And to hide behind a hearsay statement when you open the door on that specific statement. I was thinking about this over lunch. What if the police officer, for example, said, yes, Mr. Williams gave a statement to me, and he admitted being there at the time of the incident. And then the state sits down. And then I want to get up and I want to say, I want the whole statement in. Mr. Williams admitted that he was there at the time of the statement to help the victim. How is that not the same here? The state is saying, Mr. Williams said this, 1, 2, 3, I think it was 4 different lyrics. Why can't I say, but Mr. Williams put in context, and that is what the song's about. The state cannot now tell
Yeah, I might
court,
agree with
let's
the
keep it
defense on
away.
this
It
one.
is wrong. Your Honor, I'm not begging. I am respectfully requesting this honorable court to do what you already ruled, and you do have all the information. It was the state's doing. It's not like I'm just standing up and saying, I want to play every one of Mr. Williams' songs. I picked the song because the state picked the song. I picked the words because the state picked only a portion of the words. And I picked the Tiny Desk because it's clarity. It's easy to hear the words and the lyrics. That is all admissible. If the state wants to play the other rendition, I don't care, play it all day long. But it's not for the state to tell me what I can and cannot do on admissible evidence. And I ask the court to please permit me to try this case so the man has an opportunity to get the truth out. It has been maligned.
Now, notice that he's a lawyer. He got to put his best argument forward, especially to defend his client, who's could be looking at like life without parole in prison. And this guy's a well-educated lawyer, a well-educated man, went through crazy, levels of college. Notice he did not once say a word that polite would say. And he get paid to like sound cool and compelling. He say one word that polite would have said.
All right, sir, thank you.
All right, stop the acting over there, like he praying and shit. Okay, listen, you said he's a good man. That's cap. And now you over here acting like you just praying. Like the judge know you trying to you like, like you want the judge to look at you like, oh my god, he's just so sad. Like, dude, stop it. You think you're a good man? Look, he's flexing. Look at him. Look, he flexing. Like, yeah, yeah. He flexing. Ain't no damn good man.
I'm gonna be in recess.
Man, yeah, this dude ain't lift one weight in his entire life. I mean, he look at weights like it's just a cactus plant. That's how you look at weights. Look, this black guy right here looking like he's just so frustrated.
I took the. I'm putting him here when I tell you I can't find him.
Okay.
Magnifique, Condor.
Page 40, I'm going to not admit them at this time. All right, can we call for our jurors at this point? Let's call for Mr. Stevens, please. All right, summon our jurors, please, sir.
I'll do it, President California.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram. All right, any further examination of Mr. Stevens? Mr. Steele?
So this is the co-founder of YSL right here, who turned states on Young Thug right here. So he turned states. He's actually free right now. I think he got 8 years of probation, or I think he's on parole for 8 years, something like that.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Mr. Stevens, do you remember today the prosecutor was asking you questions about a song called Dropping Jewels?
Yes.
And do you remember her with her inflection of voice? What that means is her tone of voice, the way she was speaking, giving you certain lyrics allegedly from that song. Do you remember that? It's not a, it was one question.
Just rephrase it, Mr. Steele.
Do you remember? Okay. Do you? No problem. Do you remember the prosecutor asking you questions about certain lyrics from that song?
Yes.
And do you remember they were a series of questions? I don't know how many, but 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember her voice stressing certain words?
Yes.
And do you remember, like, and I'm not going to say it, but, you know, for example, when the Honorable District Attorney Love stated the word, it begins with an F and blank CK. Remember how she raised her voice for that? You remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you clearly know the song Dropping Jewels, right?
Yes.
And you've heard that song multiple times, right?
Yes.
And it was written by Jeffrey and a man named Chandler Durham. Remember, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the prosecutor asked you, do you know Chandler Durham?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know a gentleman named Turbo?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Williams or Jeffrey wrote the song with him. Do you know that? And if you don't know, just say, I don't know.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Now, Dropping Jewels, the name of the song, tell, ladies and gentlemen, jury, what does the expression dropping jewels mean?
Objection, speculation.
That's it.
Now, he said objection speculation. Now, so when I was growing up, dropping jewels, it does have a positive connotation. It means that you're giving good game to somebody. Dropping jewels. And that's definitely East Coast type slang. The 5%ers, dropping jewels. Teach them each one positivity. But Young Thug and his culture, who knows? He could be saying dropping jewels in a positive manner, or he could be, or they be tearing things apart, or he could have had it dropping jewels, but he's giving up the game to like gang rules, and who knows how he twisted it. So that's why they're fighting over the song.
It relates to the defendant's song.
I sustain the objection. If you can lay a foundation, sir.
Have you heard the expression dropping jewels before?
Yes.
Do you know what it means?
Yes.
Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen jury what the phrase dropping jewels mean? They may not
Objection,
know.
If it does not apply to the defendant's song, it has no relevance.
It was-
If it does apply to the defendant's song. it's
Okay,
relevant.
okay, all right, let me rule on the objection. I'm gonna overrule the objection. If you can answer, do you know what dropping jewels means?
Yeah.
All right.
Like teaching somebody like wisdom or knowledge.
Okay. Just because I couldn't hear you, can you just repeat that to the jurors if you don't mind?
Teaching someone like wisdom or knowledge.
And in those lyrics,
They literally call it the 12 Jews of Islam. Watch this. Okay, 12 Jews of Islam. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. So a lot of you probably already heard of this stuff. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. I forgot the exact order. Knowledge, understanding, freedom, culture. Sheesh. Okay. Knowledge, wisdom. Here we go. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. I was right. Freedom, culture, and freedom, justice, equality, food, shelter, um, free food, clothing, shelter. And then you got love, peace, and happiness. Okay, so I still remember a little bit. All right, cool. So this is the 12 jewels. These are all positive things, and it's called the 12 jewels of Islam. So people say they drop in jewels. This is probably the best reference of what jewels means in the inner city context.
That you were asked about. We're going to go through a few of them, or all of them if we can. You were asked about a lyric, something to the effect of, and I'm not saying the prosecutor said it correctly, but something effective. I told my son if he wanted to live, he might catch a body. Do you remember that as a lyric in the song that you were asked about?
Basis.
As to mischaracterization of what I said, and mischaracterization as to the lyric itself.
All right, I'm over the objection.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Is that a lyric in the song?
Yes.
Okay. And from where Jeffrey came from, was there times that people had to defend themselves?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
I stand in objection.
Where you came from, were there times that people had to defend themselves?
Objection, speculation,
And
relevance.
Well, I stand as irrelevance.
If somebody wants to live and they catch a body, well, what does catch a body potentially mean? I know it can have a different version, but what does potentially catch a body mean? Tell the jurors.
To like kill somebody?
Okay. So if somebody wants to live and they have to kill somebody, you ever hear of self-defense?
Objection, Your Honor.
I stand the question.
Do you know what that lyric means to
Objection,
you?
Your Honor, speculation.
I'm asking about
I think
Mr.
he's
Stevens.
I think he's answered that question. Can we move on to something else?
With regards to, you were asked about, I just hopped up out that ghost. I've been driving a dead body. Is that a lyric in the song?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the ladies and gentlemen, jury, what a ghost is.
Objection, speculation.
If you know.
Yo, the prosecution team, yo, they are wicked, yo. They are wicked for that one. Oh yeah, nah, that is not right at all. So, many rappers got different ways to express like the Rolls Royce Ghost, right? So, check out one of my favorite songs. Mm. This is my favorite song right here. Take Off. It's called Casper. So he's talking about a Rolls Royce, a ghost. Is that a Rolls Royce? Yeah, ghost. Okay, so he's calling the ghost Casper because Casper's a friendly ghost. So he's making a reference to the Rolls Royce. Okay, so now Young Thug is also making a reference to the Rolls Royce when he says, I'm driving a body, okay, like a dead body, but the body is a ghost, and the ghost is the Rolls Royce. So the prosecution team is trying to act like he's driving with a dead body in the car in the trunk or some shit. That is wicked, bro. That is crazy. How they trying to take his lyrics literal.
Sustain the question. You can rephrase, sir.
If you know, is a ghost a Rolls Royce
Objection,
vehicle?
Your Honor, speculation as to what ghost means in
And
this
she's
song.
saying speculation.
I asked,
Well, let's just,
I didn't ask that.
ask him the question.
does Rolls Royce make, do you know what a Rolls Royce is?
Yes.
Is it a vehicle?
Yes.
Does Rolls Royce make a vehicle known as a ghost?
Yes.
And if you're driving a ghost, are you driving a dead body?
Objection, Your Honor,
Basis.
speculation.
I'll sustain the question as to that.
Is a ghost somebody who already died?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
I sustain the question.
Is that the lyric in the song that you were asked about? Is that the line?
Clarification.
I'll rule that objection.
Is that the line you were asked about?
Yes.
Okay. So does it have anything to do with killing anybody?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
I sustain the question.
Who is it? Okay. You were asked about the line, or is this the line first? I was locked inside the trap, didn't think about it, but I got out of it.
Yes.
Okay. And is that getting out of a neighborhood,
Objection,
a
Your
bad
Honor.
neighborhood?
Speculation, and I object to any questions regarding what Jeffrey Williams means in these lyrics that the witness is reading.
I sustain it as to the question posed right now.
From what the prosecutor asked you is, I was locked inside the trap, didn't think about it, but I got out of it. Is that getting out of the neighborhood?
Objection, Your Honor.
That's asked and answered. I'll sustain the question.
Yo, that's crazy. Yo, in raps, I don't even know what term you give it. Is it like simile? And what's a proper parables? Like, what would be the proper phraseology to give it? But in rap, we like talk about something. We'll say, yeah, that's crack. Yo, we get that from that's crack. Now, she could say, you see, I told you I'm buying sports selling drugs. He just said, yo, where you get that from? And then he even said what it was. He said, where you get that from? That's crack. So he's asking him, where did he get that crack from? Ain't that crazy? And then when my defense lawyer go to explain, no, the guy was saying, where'd you get where you get them shoes from? Those shoes are crack, and crack is a reference to something really, really nice. But while my defense lawyer trying to explain that or trying to get the cross-examine the witness to get him to say it himself, she's yelling speculation, and I can't ask the question. So it looks like my client just sell crack. Yeah, and just imagine if it's a drug case and they kind of planted crack on them, and I can't even. They're using that lyric to say I got crack. That's crazy. So Tone G said he's asking leading questions. Yes, no questions, nigga. I got a limit. You want to understand? Pigeonhole you for your own good. Yeah, yeah. That is wild. How they switching up the lyrics to make them be literal. Whoa, gangster rappers are in trouble.
Do you remember the lyric? I just came up watching my pops gamble my food stamps. Is that a lyric in that song?
Yes.
Is a lyric in the song, is it bad? You better get rid of it or lose on it I know you heard that old saying, folks round about bad fruit. Is that the song, the lyric? No? Tell the lyric.
You didn't say it right.
Go ahead.
You want me to say it?
Yeah. Tell the jurors.
Started off, let me see what part you was on.
Okay. Is it bad? You better get rid of it or lose on it. I know you heard that old saying, folks round about bad fruit.
Oh,
That's fine. Mr. Stevens,
if it's bad, you better get rid of or lose on it.
okay.
I know you heard that old saying about bad food, one of them, fruit of food.
One bad apple spoils the bunch.
Objection, Your Honor, that Mr.
I'm
Steele
asking.
is asking what the meaning of the lyric is, because there is no testimony.
So what's your objection, madam?
So objection as to speculation.
I sustain it.
I'm not asking, okay.
Just I sustain it.
To you, that old saying, what is that old saying? If you know.
Objection.
What are we talking about?
Hey, Tom, the prosecution team don't care about the correct lyrics, what it really means. And they probably actually do know it's not talking about things literal. But remember, they're trying to win a case. And they're going to go low and pretend that these verses, these lyrics, say verses, I'm thinking about Bible. They're going to pretend that these lyrics, say verses. They're going to pretend like these lyrics are literal. So that's where they're going with it. We're gonna act like he really was talking about a body in the car.
That the lyric refers to.
Objection, speculation.
Mr. Steele, I'm gonna sustain it. Bring him back to what is it you're asking him about in terms of the, because I don't think he's been able to identify anything at this point. So
Dropping jewels, Mr. Stevens, is about teaching.
Objection,
Right.
Your Honor.
He's already-
Speculation.
He already said that's what it means,
Your Honor, as to the song.
I'm gonna overrule the objection.
correct?
Yes.
I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
And Mr. Williams talks about his son and daughter in that song, right?
Yes.
And he wants them to know what a struggle it is, right?
Objection, speculation.
I sustain the objection.
That's what the song is about to you,
I sustain the
isn't it?
objection.
Speculation. So objection.
To you, is that what the song is about?
Objection, Your Honor.
The state asked all about the song.
Hold on, I'm overrule the objection. Let me get the question out first.
To you, the song Dropping Jewels, it is teaching children to go a better way, right? Teaching about the real life, right? Warning them.
To me, he's talking to his kids and he's talking to other people too. Teaching, saying the things, the life coping skills. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Now,
So dude got his GED. So I commend him on doing that. The dude's slow as hell. And maybe he's not slow. Maybe it's the drugs that they take got their brains like that, man. Got him talking like that. Like he's like brain damage.
I want to talk with you about some of the chats that the prosecutor was asking you about, okay?
Yes.
And I just want to start here. Your Honor, with the court's permission, can the Honorable Mr. Kokomo put up Mr. Williams number 2? It's already in evidence.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, will the court permit me also to just grab that from the court reporter stand just to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll use it for Mr. Steele.
I have.
Just give me the page numbers for that exhibit 2 consists of, at the very top of the page.
1603.
1603
2 pages.
to 1604? Is it 1605?
Mr. Stevens, if you don't mind, and if you can't see that for whatever reason on your screen,
So there we go. So this is where I left off when I first watched it. So from this screen on, I didn't see anything else. So from this screen on, I don't know what's going. I'm watching it for the first time, like some of you guys.
we have it in evidence already. You can look at it, okay? Just let us know. I'd like you to just show,
Your Honor, I'd object as to the state having asked no questions about 1603. We asked about Defendant Williams 4, not 2.
So is this defendant's, which is it, what is this? I'm sorry.
number 2, Your Honor. Mr. Williams, number 2,
Is it in evidence already?
of course.
All right. Let's see where it's going. I'm gonna look for the time before it's left.
Okay, you see at the very top right-hand corner, Mr. Williams, number 2, it says 1603. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, and then the next page, just to give you an idea, and it's the second page of Mr. Williams, number 2. For ladies and gentlemen, jury in this honorable court, you see in the right-hand upper corner, it's in like blue and white, 1604. Do you see that?
Yes.
Where it says Instagram business record?
Yes.
Okay. If you can just remember, if you can, otherwise I'm going to show it to you, no problem. 1603, if you could try to remember that. Now, in 1603, on the page before, Mr. Kokomo, at the bottom, towards the bottom of that page, you see at, let's see. See where it says Booley with 2 eyes, 1 at 1:59:09 UTC time on your, like kind of like the top center of your screen. See where it says that Instagram user-centered attachment?
Yes.
And the text says yo at little Uzi Vert. You see that?
Yes.
And that's the gentleman you already explained to, ladies and gentlemen, jury, on that date, which is February 4th, 2021, revealed that he had a surgically implanted.
Your Honor, asked and answered on cross, and I didn't even ask about it on redirect.
Oh, objection.
And that's the gentleman who you already talked about on that date, revealed that he had a surgically implanted pink diamond in his forehead. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And that gentleman's a performer, right?
Yes.
And then underneath it, it says this real. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And then the next one is that N Uzi Crazy. This is all about his diamond in the forehead, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then that boy take a punch to the head, it's over. And then on the next page, which is 1604.
Your Honor, I object to the, I don't know if that was a question, but if it's testifying, I object to testifying.
I'll sustain this to the form of the question. You can rephrase, sir.
I was just asking Mr. Kokomo to go page 1604. And you see that at the top, they tripping now?
Yeah.
And then he cap. And then Jeffrey, YSL rule the world, kid 24M on an Nstead. You see that?
Yes.
And then you said came from nothing for something, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you already said it, but in Mr. Williams, number 3, which was played to the jury, that's what we're talking about, which I'm displaying, Your Honor. Already in evidence. It's a video that the jurors saw. That's the photograph of Mr. Little Uzi Vert having the pink diamond in his face, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, I want to show you what already been identified by you.
Your Honor, as to the line of questioning regarding Act 1907, I object as to ask and answer.
I'll stand there. Okay, I'm going to show you, I didn't ask a question, Your Honor. Mr. Williams, number 17, it's already been displayed to the jurors, Your Honor. I asked to display it again. It's over to act number 127. Yes, sir. Now, I'm going to hold it up. I've been told that jurors can't see it, so I'm not going behind you, okay? Can you see it, though, Mr. Stephen?
Yeah.
All right. And you see where it charges in count 1 over to act 127, February 4th, 2021, that these gentlemen, Mr. Lee, yourself, Mr. Williams, associates of YSL, did engage in conversation with Mr. Williams states.
Your Honor, I object,
YSL.
he has already asked the same exact question on cross-examination.
Let him finish and then I'll make a ruling.
Yes, sir.
YSL ruled the world, kid 24M, 24M on an N's head. You see all that?
Yes.
And then the next line, it doesn't have any type of
Objection, Your
comma.
Honor, as to the commentary.
I'm on cross.
Is there a question though, Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, all right, what's the question?
I'm getting there right now. And you see how it just continues in the indictment? Y'all just start bringing me the money?
Yes.
All right. And then, man, you aims, stop playing with me. See all that?
Yes.
All right, now you remember that 1603 and 1604 that we discussed already?
Yes.
All right, now I want to show you what's already been marked with Mr. Kokomo's permission, Your Honor, and admitted into evidence as Mr. Williams number 4. And you were asked some questions about this exhibit on redirect examination by the Honorable Miss Love, and I'll show it to you. Okay?
Yes.
Well, with Mr. Kokomo's permission. You can't see it, Mr. Kokomo, if you could bring it down a little bit. Okay, thank you, sir. You see at the top of Mr. Williams number 4, the page 1698
Yes.
in blue?
Yes.
And from number 2 of Mr. Williams, 1603, that's approximately, I heard you say you're not good in math, I understand that, but it's approximately 95 pages of text between the 2 quotes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a totally different day also. If you remember, and if you don't remember, we could go back to it. On Mr. Williams number 2, this is on February 4th of 2021, right? Mr. Williams number 2.
Yeah.
I could show it to you. Do you need to see it?
No.
Okay.
What
And-
been going on?
It's the same thing, yes, sir. And then on Mr. Williams number 4, this is now on the very top of it is February 6th, 2021, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then, as the indictment says, the next line after, on Mr. Williams number 7, we'll just start bringing me the money, you see that?
Yeah.
That's not until February 7th, what, about 100 pages later in the text messages, right? Or the chat messages, right?
Yeah.
Let me show it to you. Give me 1 second. I apologize. Tricia, what page? Let me do this. On page 1706, if you don't mind, Mr. Kokomo. Right in the center, just below center of that page, do you see at time 1:00:00:00
20. Mr. Kokomo, if you could wrap your, could circle it. You see that, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, yes,
Okay, and that's on page 1706. Right? That's more than 100 pages in chat later, right?
yes.
Does that have anything to do, that quote right there, you'll start bringing me money, really, does that have anything to do with what the prosecutors put in overt act number 127 earlier about little Uzi Vert's?
Your Honor, we didn't
said?
objection as to the point of the question. We did not have anything about Uzi Verts.
I stand the objection.
Because part that is on the board, on your screen, you'll start bringing the money. If you go down a little more, Mr. Kokomo, bottom of that page, you see right there, man, y'all little hands stop playing with me. You see that's the second to last one?
Yeah.
Do those items, those words have anything to do with little Uzi Vert's
Objection, Your Honor, again.
statement?
I stand the objection.
Does it have anything to do with what is written at the beginning, YSL rule the world? Is there anything to it?
Them two different conversations.
Objection to the commentary, right?
I stand it.
They're not even close in context. Context is a bad word. They're not even part of the same conversation, right?
Nah.
And Miss Love started to read sections skipping around in Mr. Williams' number 4 to you earlier today. You remember that?
Objection as to the compound nature of skipping around.
It's
the
not a compound question.
I stand as the form of the
Do
question.
you remember the Honorable Miss Love asking you about Mr. Williams' number 4 and asking you about specific chats this morning? If you don't remember,
But
that's
she was right here reading with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you remember that?
Yeah.
And she was going out of sequence, right? With that, do you know what I'm?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what she reading like. Some she was reading directly right up on each other, and some she'll flip the page. So yeah.
Okay. Now, the chats that Mr. Williams is referring to that you were a part of in Mr. Williams number 7 and the number 4, and the jurors will have this.
Objection, Your Honor.
It's in
I
evidence.
stand the question.
This is in evidence. Mr. Williams is commenting on the fact that you were trying to raise money for rent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where in this chat or in anything in Mr. Williams number 2, is there anything criminal dealing with Mr. Williams?
I stand the question.
Where is there anything that furthers the interest of a RICO conspiracy in
I
Anu?
stand the question, Mr. Steele. Let's move on.
Now, Miss Love only asked you about Mr. Williams number 4, the one we were just talking about. It's on the screen, right?
Yeah.
She didn't mention Mr. Williams number 2 that I just showed you, right? Correct?
I think it was like 21 pages. That what she showed me.
She didn't ask you anything about Mr.
No.
Uzi Vert, correct?
No.
That's Mr. Williams number 2 and 3. She didn't ask you about Mr. Williams number 7 at all, right?
Object as to the relevance of what I asked you.
I'll rule the objection.
Am I correct?
Yes.
She didn't ask you anything about that. Okay. Now, Mr. Love asked you over and over again about Mr. Williams talking about God, being humble, truly humble unto God. You remember any of those type of questions?
Objection, Your Honor, as to compound.
I stand the question.
Do you remember questions about that the prosecutor asked you about Mr. Williams being humble?
Yes.
Do you remember questions that the prosecutor asked you about God? Mr. Williams talked about God.
Yeah.
Do you remember questions that
the prosecutor asked you about truly humble under God, it's called an act, well, just truly humble under God, thug. You remember those questions?
Yeah.
And she limited you to a song that is in existence in the public domain. You remember that? She kept asking about songs.
Your Honor, I object as to the characterization.
I stay in the question.
Do you remember the prosecutor consistently saying for you to remember what song mentions humble or God? Do you remember that? Or truly humble under God? You remember that?
That was my understanding, to remember a song that said something like God, to say a song that said something like God. And I choose that one because I remember that specific part in the beginning of the song where he was referring to God.
And you're talking about what's the meaning of life or whatever dropping jewels is?
Yes.
What Ms. Love didn't ask you about is whether Jeffrey ever gave any interviews, public interviews about the meaning of, did she?
As to trying to get in self-serving.
I'm not asking about a statement.
Let him finish the question before I can rule on it. So what's your question, Mr. Steele?
Did Ms. Love ask you anything about Mr. Williams giving an interview or interviews in 2016, let's say, 8 years ago, about being humble and what it means that he doesn't want to be known as young thug? Did she ever ask you those questions?
Objection compound.
I stay in this to form. Why don't you rephrase?
Okay. Did the prosecutor ask you any questions about Mr. Williams' statement, public statements about being humble?
Objection, Your Honor, as to
Basis.
any statements by the defendant would be self-serving, hearsay.
I stay in this.
I'm not asking a statement. I'm asking what Ms. Love asked that.
I stay in the question, though. Form of the question.
The judge doesn't want you to say what Mr. Williams said. Don't say what he said. Do you know of public interviews of Mr. Williams given concerning the topic of being humble?
Objection. One,
Basis.
it would be, again, he is attempting to refer to self-serving hearsay. It would be speculation as to what the defendant meant in the interview.
I'll stay in the question. Stay in the question.
Do you know, without saying what Mr. Williams said, because the judge is sustaining that, do you know Mr. Williams explaining anything in interviews?
Objection, Your Honor, as to anything about.
That's the same question 3 times, Mr. Steele. So
Do
we'll
you-
move on to something else.
Do you know whether Mr. Williams has ever discussed, don't tell me what he discussed, that he does not want to be known as young thug, but it's what makes money?
That's been asked and answered. I'll stay in the question.
Okay. Okay. You know the song Let Me Live by Mr. Williams?
Your Honor, I would object to any reference to statements by the defendant offered by the defendant.
Overrule the objection. Can you answer that, sir?
Trayvon Martin song?
Objection, Your Honor, as to what the song is about.
I stay. Yeah.
Do you know that
he,
song?
He needs to finish it with first. Maybe ask him if he knows the song.
Do you know that song?
I'm trying to think.
Take your time.
No.
If I played you the song in private, do you think that you can tell the court and the jury whether you recognize the song or not?
Yes.
Objection under 24-801.
I stay in the question.
Do you know whether Jeffrey Williams spends a tremendous amount of time when you're with him, when you speak with him on the phone, in a studio recording?
Yes.
Do you realize that Mr. Williams has thousands of songs that are not released?
Yes.
Do you realize that Mr. Williams has thousands of songs that have been stolen?
Objection, speculation,
If you know.
and objection basis before the answers.
I stay in this to form. Why don't you rephrase it?
Do you know whether Mr. Williams' art has been pirated or taken? If you know, if you don't know,
And
just say I don't know.
objection as to relevance as well.
I stay in the question.
Point being is Mr. Williams has a lot more songs recorded than what's in the public domain. True?
Yes.
Thousands more, right?
Yeah.
And do you know that Jeffrey Williams has songs under Jeffrey and not Young Thug? Do you realize that?
Yeah.
And do you know that those songs don't sell very well?
Objection, speculation.
If you know,
I stand the question.
are you aware of that?
I don't know about the sales for real.
Okay. All right. The prosecutor asked you about Sergio Kitchens. You know who I'm referring to?
Yeah.
Now, he is an world-renowned, if you know, known artist. True?
Yes.
And he goes by the stage name, what?
Gunner.
Gunna.
Yes.
Okay. And the prosecutor asked you whether he was a co-defendant, and a co-defendant means it's a human being. Defendant's just a kind of strips a person, but it means it charged with a crime, right? It's,
I stand the question.
you understand that it's the state of Georgia plaintiff versus Brian Steele defendant. I'd be the defendant. You understand that? That's where the word comes from? Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Kitchens is, in this indictment, an accused. You're aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, a defendant, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Kitchens, if you're aware, resolved his case. True?
Excuse me. Yes.
About a month before you did, right?
I don't remember. Was it a month?
That's fine. And he was released from jail, right?
Yes.
And he pled Alford, meaning he maintained innocence, right? This is,
I stand the
it's
question.
on the indictment.
But I stand the question.
All right. Now, do you know what an Alford plea is?
Objection, Your Honor.
I stand the question.
I'm asking the witness if he knows.
I stand the question.
Okay. All right. Now, I want to talk with you about Gunna or Mr. Kitchens. The prosecution keeps calling you the leader or the beginner or the creator of YSL, one of them. You realize that?
Yes.
You and Jeffrey and a man named Walter Murphy known as DK, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. And tell the jurors what crime that you know that Sergio Kitchens ever committed to further the interests of a criminal street gang YSL.
I object, and I'd ask.
Basis.
you to
Okay, all right, come on up. Tim, Mr. Stevens, please. Mr. Stevens, please.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you about some other stuff they want you to do.
Mr. Stevens, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, based upon your own personal knowledge, whether Mr. Kitchens or Gunner ever committed a crime to promote YSL.
Objection, Your Honor, compound.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury whether Mr. Kitchens ever committed a crime to promote the gang YSL.
Your Honor, he asked the exact same question, so it's still a compound question, so my objection. There are two questions.
I sustain the question.
What did Mr. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
What did Mr. Kitchens do, if anything, to benefit a criminal street gang YSL? Tell them.
Your Honor, I object on the grounds that I mentioned at the bench, and I also object on the basis that
I'll sustain this to the question. Mr. Steele, why don't you ask them one question to begin with, and then based upon that, if he answers anything, then we'll take it from there.
Do you know if Mr. Kitchens committing any crime to benefit your gang?
objection, Judge.
I'm asking a single question.
Judge, he's asking a compound question.
No, he's not. Not in this one. I'm gonna stay in the question. I mean, I'll overrule the question. Let him ask that last one.
And I'd ask for a basis for his knowledge.
Go ahead, Mr. Steve.
I don't have any knowledge.
All right. Okay.
Now, I want to talk with you about, and if the state can help me, if you are able. I believe that's 20 UB. Mr. Stevens, it'll come up on the screen when the honorable prosecutor puts it up there, and I thank her for doing that very much.
Mr. Kearns, could you let us see?
I have, well, I believe it's 20 or 29, but we have
27, you can drop.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Miss. Thank you so much. Mr. Stevens, if I can go through this photograph with you and the letters at the bottom, if that's okay with you, okay?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, do you recall where this photograph was taken, best to your memory?
No.
Okay. Is it fair to say, if you remember, this was what's called a pose photograph, meaning you know it's a camera is taking your picture, you're smiling towards the camera. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And behind you, it appears to be, I see 3 different vehicles. Is that what you see in the 20 states 27 UB?
Yeah.
Okay. And the far vehicle in the top left is a SUV. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And then there's a vehicle next to that one, correct?
Yes.
And then you are seated in a chair right in front of a blue vehicle, right?
Yes.
Is that a Rolls Royce?
Yes.
And whose Rolls Royce is that?
Mr. Williams?
And did he give that to you?
No.
Okay. Now, you are seated, and if you can blow it up if you don't mind when you get a chance, maybe on the neck area of Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens, you see the Honorable Prosecutor blowing this up for you?
Yes,
All right, and I'm focused on, it looks to me like there's two chains. Is that fair to say?
yes,
And one of them is a traditional, very strong, powerful cross. Is that right?
yes.
Did Mr. Williams give you that cross?
No,
Did Mr. Williams give you the chain that that cross is on?
no,
How about the next? You have something that I believe says a name. Is that right?
yes.
What name is that?
Mine slug?
Okay. And did Mr. Williams give you that jewel?
No,
And did he give you the chain?
no.
Okay. Then, if you don't mind, if you can scroll in on the left hand. That's fine. I appreciate it. Do you see what the Honorable Prosecutor tried to get enlarged as much as possible? Your left wrist?
Yes,
And that is a Rolex watch, correct?
yes,
And it's worth approximately $5,000?
yes,
And that was given to you by Mr. Williams
yes.
as a gift,
A birthday gift?
birthday gift?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you do anything for Mr. Williams to promote some sort of criminal activity in exchange for that birthday gift?
No,
Did Mr. Williams give it to you and then tell you, I'm ordering you to go commit this crime on behalf of YSL? Did that happen?
Hearsay and self-serving.
I sustain the question.
Did Mr. Williams give that to you with any type of strings attached? That may be a bad way to say it.
Objection.
Did,
Your Honor.
did you do
I
any,
sustain this to form. Go
did
ahead.
you do anything for Mr. Williams in exchange for that gift?
gave it to him because I was born on my birthday.
Because of a birthday present.
Right.
All right. Now, if you can go to the right wrist, do you see that I believe you're wearing what I'd call a chain on that right wrist? Do you see that? And if I'm wrong, just say I'm wrong.
You wrong?
Okay, that's just part of the fabric,
It's not, that's not yours.
not jewelry. Okay, nothing to do with Mr. Williams.
No,
Okay, then if we can go up a little bit, actually down a little bit. And you see that writing?
yes,
Okay. And this was in the first line that there's words. This was liked by IAM_little git and 1,181 others, right?
yeah,
And this on Instagram. Is that fair to say?
yeah,
Okay. And then what you wrote is _1 slug, bust down Rolly, came from Thug, meaning Mr. Williams, right?
yes,
You know it's real,
yeah,
real love, or whatever little baby said, right?
yeah.
And what does that mean, whatever? Well, who is little baby?
Entertainer?
Okay, is he a musical entertainer?
Yes,
And people would say a rap entertainer? Gangster rap?
entertainer.
Okay.
Like, he do a lot of stuff.
And what does it mean, if you remember, what did you mean by whatever little baby said?
I think that was one of his lyrics in his song.
Okay, that's a song, right?
Yes,
Okay. Is there anything in State's Exhibit number, and they said 27, you, little b is in Barry or Bravo, anything in there that's connected to somehow a criminal conspiracy RICO count?
Objection, Your Honor. That is a matter for a jury.
I sustain- I
he's right
sustain
here.
the question.
Did you post this in any way that is criminal activity?
Your Honor, objection as to the same
This is his,
basis.
this is his posting.
Jury is tasked.
I'll rule the objection. Can you answer the question?
Is this in any way affiliated with criminal activity?
Your Honor, that objection, because that is a matter that we will argue in.
I'll sustain the question.
Is State's Exhibit number 27UB have anything to do with a crime and Jeffrey Williams?
Mr. Steele, I've sustained the objection. Please don't ask it again, please.
Now, the prosecutor asked you today that after Jeffrey became famous, you went separate ways. You remember something like that?
She, my bad. Yeah, she had me a lot of questions. My bad.
Actually, Jeffrey spent a lot of time working, didn't he? Before he became famous.
Yes.
And prosecutor asked you, why didn't you spend that much time? You already explained that to the jury, right?
Basis.
Arguing or asking a question she wasn't at, I didn't ask that, misrepresenting.
Oh, objection. Can you answer the question?
You didn't.
Yeah, I answered. Her. I told her I didn't have no talent.
And that's very, modest of you. Modest means polite of you to say you didn't have the talent, but you also didn't put in the time with Jeffrey, right?
No, I ain't putting no time.
You were doing other things while he was working, right?
Yes.
That's what you said earlier on your cross-examination, right?
Yes.
Nothing about when Jeffrey became famous. That's how Jeffrey, he went for something, right?
Yes.
You told the jury it was amazing. It was your word.
Your Honor, I'm going to object if he's already
Basis.
said, asked and answered.
I sustain the question.
All right. State's exhibit number 16U. It might be in front of you. Is that what the number is, if you don't mind helping me out, Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Now, you were answering all the questions asked by the Honorable District Attorney Hilton. Remember that?
Yeah.
And you were put under oath, right?
Yes.
And the Honorable Judge Glanville, Chief Judge Glanville, he was here asking you questions as well. He was present, right?
Yes.
Where in that document or in the video does it ever say that Jeffrey Williams was part of a criminal street gang? Tell the jurors.
It don't.
I'm sorry?
It don't.
So you were under oath having to answer all the questions of the prosecutor, and they didn't ask you that question.
Ain't in there. No. I ain't get asked that.
I can't hear you.
I didn't get asked that question.
Was Jeffrey Williams part of any criminal street gang whatsoever, sir? To your knowledge, as charged in YSL, RICO count, or any other gang activity
Objection,
here?
Your Honor, compound.
I sustain the question as to form.
You were asked about YSL, and the prosecutor Love asked you, are there Crips in YSL? You remember that?
Yes.
And are there Bloods in YSL? She asked you. Remember that?
She asked me a lot of questions. Huh?
That's fine. If you don't remember, it's fine. Or maybe I'm wrong. Okay. I want to talk to you about Jeffrey Williams' YSL. Okay?
Yeah.
Young Slime Life. That's a record label. You know that, right?
Yes.
And are you familiar? And if you're not, just say, Brian, I don't know. Okay? Does YSL produce music?
Yes.
Does YSL record label distribute music for public consumption? Consumption means for the public to listen to.
Yes.
Does YSL include music engineers?
Yes.
Does YSL include lawyers, business lawyers?
Yes.
Does YSL have managers?
Yes.
Do they have bookkeepers? That means people who keep all the money.
I mean, they got to it. That's a business.
If you don't know,
Yeah. I don't.
okay. Do you know if YSL pays taxes?
Yes.
Do you know whether they're registered company in the state of Georgia?
Yes.
Do you know whether they were bought out by a publicly internationally traded company?
Your Honor, I asked for a basis, so I object.
Do you know that?
Basis for his knowledge.
It's public information if he knows.
I sustain the question. It's been asked and answered too, Mr. Steele.
Do you know whether this record label that Jeffrey created, if he's a part of it?
Yes.
And are there people who do promotion and advertising
Yes.
and search for new artists, A&R,
Yes.
and people who promote interest in Young Thug brand?
Yes.
And Young Thug brand is something that you don't back down, no fear. That's what was created, right?
Objection is to speculation.
If you know.
I sustain the question.
In the public domain, that's what Young Thug brand is, right?
Objection again, same basic
I sustain
speculation.
the question.
I would like Mr. Kokomo, with his permission and the court's permission, to show privately Mr. Stevens that song, Let Me Live, to see if he knows the song, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I object.
I sustain the question.
Okay. Did Jeffrey ever give you anything in order to enable the stature or the respect or the benefit of any gang?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did he ever give you
I
anything?
sustain. Mr. Steele, it's getting to the point, it's asked and answered at this point as well.
Now, in Mr. Williams number 4, the chat that's in evidence,
Yeah.
there were talk about, and if you need to see it, we can put it up and hand it to you, okay? There was talk about Mr. Williams saying, I'm on this thread. Don't play with me. I'm a real gangster, for real. Don't talk like that behind my back because I'm here. You remember all those conversations? And Mr. Williams said, I pay for everything. Remember all that?
Yeah.
Does Mr. Williams pay for the $1,500 rent that you were trying to raise?
No.
And when Mr. Williams wrote, he pays for everything, if you go out with him, he'll pay for you, right? At a club.
Yes.
True? At the studio. Dinner. Drinks, right?
Yes.
Is Mr. Williams funding criminal activity that you're aware of?
Objection.
I sustain the question.
He would know.
Sustain the question.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have just a second?
You may, sir.
Your Honor, is Odyssey up? Because I was told.
It's not.
Do you have the dates?
We cannot access ours. And I have no.
Mr. Stevens, the prosecutor was asking you whether I visited you in a jail. Remember those questions?
Yes.
I asked them for the dates.
Objection, Your Honor, as to Mr. Steele talking about anything, conversation outside of Mr. Stevens' presence in his direct or cross of Mr. Stevens.
What's the basis for your objection, madam?
Improper question.
I sustain the question.
No date was given.
Objection, Your Honor, he's testifying.
I sustain the question.
Have I ever represented you on anything?
No.
Do we have any type of relationship, attorney-client-wise?
No.
Do you know that I've defended Jeffrey in other cases for 8 to 10 years?
Yes.
Do you know that Jeffrey's put my name in songs?
Yes.
Do you know whether you called me because you know I'm a lawyer in Atlanta?
Yes.
Did that have anything to do with Jeffrey Williams?
No, I was just trying to get somebody to represent me for my probation revocation.
Except for those other items, I don't have anything else.
Okay. State anything further?
No, Your Honor, no further questions.
All right, anybody else? All right, may we excuse Mr. Stevens permanently or temporarily?
Permanently for the state's sake.
All right,
Your Honor,
sure.
not hold him temporarily based upon the Odyssey and that other matter we talked, where you said, I don't want to do it. But he's free to go. I'm not going to hold him.
Can you all approach for a second, please? Mr. Stevens, just don't go anywhere quite yet. Keep going. Mr. Stevens, please. Okay, Mr. Stevens, thank you for your patience with us. We're going to temporarily excuse you as a witness. That means you'll be subject to recall. So I'm going to excuse you at this point in time, but I'm also going to just ask that you not discuss your testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case. If we need you, we have a number for you. Is that correct, Ms. Gladden? Okay, so we'll give you plenty of heads up. So if we need to recall you, we'll go ahead and do so at that time, okay? But thank you for your patience with us, all right?
All right.
All right, thank you, sir.